Okay, so today in this video, I want to explain the process of creating landing pages in Power BI reports using HTML code and CSS. So basically, what is a landing page? A landing page is typically the starting point of any report. So you realize that for examples like websites, you would have a landing page, which is the home page, basically, where the report starts from. And then in the cases of Power BI or any other reports for that matter, the landing page is usually where it starts from. And so typically gone are the days where landing pages would be a very static, boring um, start point of the reports, and it doesn't get anybody excited. Now, with the power of Power BI and with the power of combinations of artificial intelligence, where the HTML codes are able to be generated, you are able to generate HTML codes which are really powerful, which respond, which are interactive, and gives a visual landing page which is very eye-catching, and that is the whole point of this video. So this is a completed report, and in this project, we are going to basically try and recreate this report. You will see that at the top left corner of the report is the Atlas Commodities Group, which is a company, the fictional company that we are using for this example. And this is an interactive control environment. And we have on the left the operational finance intelligence, which is from operations to executive decisions, a decision system for understanding how volume, time, working capital, and operational execution combine to determine profitability across cocoa cycles. So we have basically like a formula which derives the profit of this fictional company. Typically in fast commodity moving goods companies, you see that we have the operations, the time, the capital, which is then what makes the profit. Yeah, so on the right, we have a cash to cash cycle control where we have a planned budget of 56 days. And this 56 days is basically how many days it should take typically when capital is disbursed into the field in the form of funding, where we call the capital released. Between that and the purchase of the commodity, 14 days, dispatch of the commodity, 7 days from the purchase date, and then offload to the port, which is also 7 days, and then it's being going through the regulations at the port and then getting an invoice where you will now expect payment after 7 days in 21 days. So that is what makes up this 56 days plan. And this is the framework for the business. And basically in the report, you're going to see the executive intelligence, which is the summary, the working capital situation, profitability situation, operation situation, and then a forecast situation. Again, through this HTML code, we are able to get a very interactive platform where even on the landing page, when you hover over the pages, you see that there's a response, which is very, very beautiful, very eye-catching. And in a presentation, you are able to draw everybody's attention. Everybody is able to follow the narration that the business controller or the financial controller of the FP&A analyst is giving. So this is a complete landing page already created, and I want us to be able to go through this process from scratch, where I'll be able to show you, and hopefully at the end, you, the person watching this video, will be able to also create this very interactive page in all your reports going forward. Okay, so I open my blank page, of course, and we start by what we call the HTML viewer. So this HTML viewer is not natively in the build suggestions in Power BI. So you have to add it. So you will go through this process, get more visual. You get more visuals, you click on it, and then you search for HTML. Okay. So there are two types. There's HTML content light and then there's HTML content. I use this HTML content. And so I click on that and I bring it into my Power BI environment. So I add it, and then after a few seconds, I get it. So the visual was successfully imported into this report. which is perfect. Okay, so the next thing is that, again, the beauty of HTML codes is that we don't necessarily need to have in-depth knowledge of coding. We just need to be able to know the prompting properly and be able to prompt it well in AI such that we can get the narration of what we want to do perfectly stated in our prompt. Okay, and we do that by virtue of bringing it into Power BI as measures. So I'll open my Power BI. And basically what I'm saying in Chat GPT is that I want to create a premium executive style landing page for a Power BI and operation financial dashboard using HTML and CSS designed to render in an HTML content visual on a standard 16 by 9 canvas. And we know that typically 16 by 9 canvases are the typical sizes of blank pages on Power BI, basically. So I copy my prompt. And not to worry, I'll have this prompt in the additional materials that I'm going to upload for this video. But we give it some time and it structures and generates the code that we are looking for. So here it gives us this code, which is the Atlas Executive Landing Page. And we have already explained all the things that we want to see. Okay, rich premium content, navy background. Like if you look into our completed report, you have a view of what we want to see. So rich navy content, which in this case is a faction, because it's a fictional company, we are using this colors. In your report, you can also edit in your prompt or make in your prompt the color preferences that you want to see, which matches your company's colors or the theme of your company, for example. So very important that you do that. Okay, so I come back and then I see what has, okay, the code is still going on. And typically HTML codes are quite big, so you give it some time for it to run and you just relax and wait for all the magic to happen. So once that is done, I copy my code and I come into the Power BI environment. So like I mentioned, in the Power BI environment, we are going to start with creating a holder, a placeholder for the measure. And so because it's a blank sheet, I'm going to create a landing measures table, basically. So what it does is that it creates a placeholder that I can create the measure in and then put it into the Power BI environment so that I can be able to place it. So I right click, I go to new measure and I paste my. So here, what it tells me is that something strikes out. You see that in the code that was generated in Power BI, in ChatGPT, I beg your pardon, it assumed there to be some tables. And if you're familiar with Power BI, you know that we are typically going to create dimension tables and we are going to create fact tables. And then through the model, we are going to connect the fact tables onto the dimension table so that we can have a working model that relates to each other. So by default, this code has assumed that I have a table, which is a dimension table crop here. In this example, it's a blank report. I don't have any tables in it. And so for this, it's not pointing to any table necessarily. So I have to change this section of the code and just name it crop year 2025 stroke 26. Okay. And that should make my report ready for use. Okay. So I've replaced the table because I don't have a table in my report. This is a blank report. And so I'm just going to type in the name that you see on the final report here. Okay. Which is the copy of 2526. Okay. So once this is done, now I don't even need this column again. So I can remove this column 1 and have a clean system. So here, what I basically have is the Atlas landing page HTML code that has been created. And you know, HTML is, for HTML to work in Power BI, it has to return as text. And so the formula is into three parts: the variables, which is to set the copy things that you want to name specifically, and then the text itself, and then the code itself, and then the text that it returns. Okay. So once you have that, you have your measure ready. You go into your canvas, you click on this HTML content that originally we imported into our BI. So I click on it, and then because this is a landing page and we have made our measure or our code such that it fills the whole canvas, and the whole canvas, you recall, is 16 points, 16 by 9. So I fill the whole canvas, I close these parts, and then I bring my code. And so if I bring my code into it, beautiful. Okay, beautiful. So basically what we have here is the full landing page, which is basically the same thing. It interacts, it does all of the things that we wanted it to do. It has put all the parts that we want to do, and basically it captures the attentions of the people that you are making the report to. So this is a perfect example. Afterwards, I can call it landing page or whatever you want, really. And again, you can make any changes that you want. This example is a cocoa or cash, which is a cash to cash cycle, but it can be anything. It can be coffee, it can be cars, it can be anything, any commodity. Okay. It's just about prompting it rightly in AI, getting the code, getting your HTML viewer into your visuals pane, and then bringing the code into it. You can edit the code in ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is that you use, and then let it respond. In this example, again, as I mentioned, we don't have any data. There's nothing in the model. It's a blank model, basically. So in this case, we only have the HTML code. Typically in report buildings, you realize that you are doing a lot of exchange of ideas with any AI platforms that you are working with. And so it will already have some reserve of information which you had already prompted to generate the report. And so when it gets to the point where you already have the pages and you want to build a landing page, then you can just say that, okay, based on all the information that we have already discussed, which is maybe you already have built the working capital, you have already built the profitability, you have already built the operations, you have already built your forecast. And so there's already a lot of information that you have already shared with AI or with whoever it, whatever platform that you are working with. Then you can say that, okay, based on this, let's generate a code that would perfectly encapsulate everything that we have discussed and bring everything to the fore on the landing page. In this example, we started from the landing page where we are going to now use it to build. And so this is also the result that we have. But this is really beautiful. And this is something that you can use for all your reports to make sure that the first page brings everything home and it perfectly encapsulates what everybody should expect when they are getting into your report. So thank you very much. I'm going to upload the write-up of the process that I used, the snapshot of the landing page, and then the codes that we generated and the prompts that we did. Also, you can also test it and then see the results that you will get. So happy report building, and catch you in the next video. Thanks.